I'm not sure he would believe it because he's very self-confident, but I think Lane Kiffin's got himself in a little bit of a mess here. And I'm not exactly sure, based off some things I've heard since my column posted, questioning whether or not he could afford guys like Tyler Barron that transferred to Ole Miss and then flipped to Louisville, whether he could afford them. Since I've talked to some people who said maybe it's not that, maybe he's running those guys off because he thinks he can get some Alabama guys. Well, sure enough, he's tweeting that he's at the University of Alabama because this just in, Lane likes to tweet.
That's hot.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go what the H right now, and it's brought to you by our good friend Don Self.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Don Self is your State Farm agent. I'll tell you more right there in Chattanooga. He can take care of you, donself.net, donself.net. All right, Caleb. So I've been told two things, and I'll tell you what I'm told by those in the know. And I've been told two things. One is that somehow Louisville got together some more money, and they were able to talk Tyler Barron and Tamarion McDonald into flipping after they just recently committed as transfers to Ole Miss. I had someone else that told me that no, the funds may not be there. And someone else tell me that he ran them off because the Alabama guys. Either way, isn't that a terrible look in recruiting?
There is no.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's no way Lane Kiffin comes out of this looking good. There's no scenario you can play in your head in which Lane Kiffin comes out looking good. Because you're right. Either he opened an NIL checkbook to get Tyler Barron and Tamarion McDonald. And by the way, a third transfer to Ole Miss has flipped to Louisville. Just recently happened. His name was Tahveon Nicholson. He was an Illinois transferred to Ole Miss in December, and now he's flipped to Louisville too. So that leads me to believe this. I will say this. Part of this is the most obvious answer to me is I actually think the most likely one is Louisville's. For some reason, I don't know why they're opening up checkbooks and they're going after Ole Miss guys because they know the Ole Miss guys aren't that loyal because they know those Ole Miss guys left for NIL funds. The only way Lane maybe comes out of this looking good is that maybe they did promise Tamarion McDonald and Tahveon Nicholson and Tyler Barron some money. Those guys went there, and then when he realized the Alabama thing opened, those guys were trying to negotiate between what Louisville was offering and what Ole Miss was offering, and Lane Kiffin was like, you know what? I'll let them go follow the NIL money to Louisville because that way I can go get the Alabama guys. So maybe he didn't push them off because of that, to be fair to Lane.
Maybe he just lost them. Either way,
maybe he willingly lost them.
Because here's what happens for those that don't know, and the way the transfer portal works, you can enter it, but your scholarship is not held at your previous school. So Tyler Barron, if Lane said, "Hey, Nick Saban got fired. I'm sorry, we think there are better defensive ends out there." Tyler Barron can't pick up the phone and call Josh Heupel and say, "Hey, I'd like to come back if you don't care." I mean, that's not the way it works. You don't have to hold their scholarship open. One of our better posters, SC Scout guy, says on South Carolina Sports Radio this morning, they had an Ole Miss guest that flat out said their NIL is completely out of money and overpromised to some kids, and they are scrambling to find money. That's what I was told. But then I was told by somebody else that it could be a situation where he's running off people for Alabama. You want my theory? I think he overpromised based off what I've been told. I'm kind of trusting one source over the other, okay? I think that he overpromised. They realized that the money wouldn't be there because we saw Jaden Rashada at Florida show up and there's no cash, right? So now you've got to be smart enough to get the money before you get enrolled, or technically spend your first night on campus is what the stipulation used to be for enrolled. So I think that he overpromised and didn't have the money. They found that out, and then they fell to a third-tier program, which is Louisville. So Lane Kiffin steps into your living room with your son, who may be a starter at Tennessee or is at least a part of the rotation, and Tennessee could be in the college football playoff and playing for a national championship on the rise, and you tell him, I'm going to give you $1 bazillion. That $1 bazillion is not there. So now he's playing for Louisville and the ACC. And listen, I don't think Tyler Barron is the best apple in the bunch. I don't think he's a bad dude. I just don't think he takes coaching, and I think he thinks he's a little bit better than he is. But the bottom line is, Lane Kiffin talked to a young man into what essentially is a third-tier program at Louisville. I mean, that's below the second tier of SEC in my mind. Would you agree or disagree that it's Tennessee,
Yes, it's
Ole Miss, and Louisville, if you were to rank those three?
yes. And for our younger fans out there who think that no, Louisville's better because they played for the ACC title this year, they lost to Kentucky. Not blowing out Louisville is why Florida State wasn't in the college football playoff, because everybody knew that Louisville was not a good team this year. And by the way, Jeff Brohm, great coach. I thought Tennessee would have been best to hire Jeff Brohm in 2017 when that whole disaster of a coaching search happened. Brilliant offensive mind. But I do think Lane Kiffin, I think Louisville is clearly a third tier position. I mean, this is a school that wasn't Power 5 10, 15 years ago that we're talking about. And so I think, look, Dave, if he did this, there's no coming back from it, because if he can't win this year with what he's got, who's going to commit? Who's going to take a chance transferring to him?
No, and I think Tennessee saw some of this in the transfer portal. An 8-win season makes it tougher to pick up guys in the portal. But Tennessee, fortunately, they needed to keep their own guys, so it kind of worked itself out. But what happens if Lane Kiffin puts up an 8-win season when he tries to go out and get transfers next year? And that very well could happen. Caleb, tell me that before I tell you, or after I tell you about Don Self. Customer service still matters when you're trying to file that claim. That's when customer service matters, not when you're shopping around for the best price. And I know everybody's doing that in insurance, but if you're in Chattanooga, do me a favor, go to donself.net, donself.net. Know that you're taken care of by an awesome agency with over 40 years of experience. So if Lane Kiffin posts an 8-win season, and I want to go ahead and say, be sure and attach Lane Kiffin when we tweet this video out, because I like Lane on a personal level, and I think I would like for things to work out for him. But I'll be honest with you. If he has an 8-win season this year, then it makes the transfer portal, which Ole Miss has to depend on, but struggles to depend on for lack of money, it makes that more difficult heading into 2025. That could be where it starts to spiral out of control. And then Lane Kiffin, who I think is positioning himself for the Florida job. Then Lane Kiffin, if he things don't go well at Ole Miss, where is he? Where is he at that point? What kind of job is he getting at that point? Are we talking about Central Michigan type jobs? I mean, what type of jobs are we talking about?
Lane is hopping on a faulty rocket ship to the moon, and he's either going to go make it to the moon, or he's going to fall flat on his face. He's going to fall to Earth and just explode. Like
he's the SpaceX. The 2 first rockets crashed, and the third one, if it didn't go, they were going to go bankruptcy. Have you heard that Elon story? Okay, so
I did. I saw that.
Is this his third one? Is this his third rocket?
He is shooting. Lane Kiffin is shooting his shot for 2024. And he is willingly lighting his career on fire if it doesn't work out. Because Dave, this is literally, he's at the blackjack table. All his chips are in. Are they not? I mean, all of his chips are in on 2024. I mean, he's either going to go home and have to tell his wife he lost the house gambling, or he's going to walk out a multimillionaire. It's one or the other at this point, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think it is. I think all the chips are in the table. I think that this Alabama class, and we're going to get to Alabama and all the transfer issues that they're having, I think that's very, very key as well. Mead Drinker asks, is Lane interested in Michigan if Hardball leaves? I don't think he's anywhere close to getting considered by Michigan for 2 reasons. One, he hasn't had enough success to take over a program that just won a national championship. And two, although I think they're a little bit pretentious about it, they might have an issue with the younger girlfriend and some other things that have gone on in his past.
That's why he wouldn't get the Alabama job. I can just tell you that right up front. Alabama would never hire him because of that specific reason. They haven't let you and I know, Dave. Alabama's already gotten burned by a coach who had some women issues pretty badly. Although Ole Miss didn't care after Hugh Freeze, they went for Lane Kiffin, but Lane Kiffin didn't do what Hugh Freeze did. So I'm going to be fair on that. But yeah, Michigan does have a little bit. They kind of like their coach to be a little more. They don't like splashy coaches, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? They don't like big personality coaches. They kind of want the old standard, like Fielding Yost, straight laced type of guy. So I think that, yeah, Lane wouldn't fit in Michigan. Where he'd fit, and I've told you guys this before, Florida or Miami. Either one of those places.
He'd slay it.
He would slay it. Could you imagine Lane at Miami? Lane and Coral Gables.
Yeah, because he would slay it because he has connections there because he was at Florida Atlantic. I think he would do really well. Sports Treasures carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia. They have daily updates. If you go to facebook.com and follow them at Sports Treasures TN, please do that. Sports Treasures TN. Why? Because their daily updates, which includes fall memorabilia, is fantastic. Really awesome in North Knoxville. Sports Treasures. So Lane Kiffin ends up at when he retires. And I'm not talking about like I was doing some research on a story, and some of these guys end up at like, I don't know, like I saw Jerry Glanville was a coach at some Southwest Mississippi, Missouri State, just because he likes to coach. I mean, it's not about the money. He's a coach, and that's what he does. He's like 78 years old. But let me just ask you like this. Will Ole Miss be the last, will it be the last good job that he has? Or will he have, if you had to choose between the two, will he eventually have a job better than Ole Miss? Which you and I would agree Florida is better than Ole Miss. Some of the other schools that he reached out to, LSU, better than Ole Miss. Alabama, which he would love, but wasn't going to get, better than Ole Miss. So has Lane Kiffin hit the high water mark as far as a coaching job?
First off, love your Jerry Glanville reference. I actually bring him up in my Nick Saban video. He's the big reason Nick Saban's good at in-game adjustments because Jerry Glanville did not believe in scripting a game. He just called it as he reacted to it.
He also didn't believe in Kevin Gilbride because he punched the hell out of him. All right, so on the sideline, how awesome was that?
That's pretty awesome.
Are you old enough? Are you too young to remember that?
Yes.
Oh, you got to look that up. He punched him on the side. The defense coordinator punched the offense coordinator on the sidelines. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so
the offense coordinator punched the defense coordinator. Go ahead.
Last week, I would have said no. I would have said that what Ole Miss is doing is going to propel Lane Kiffin into like the Florida job or something like that. This week, I'm saying yes because here's what I said. What did I say a little while ago? All the chips in the table, one or the other. Well, now the cards are being laid, and he's got a really bad hand with the cards that are being laid right now because of what's happening right now with Ole Miss in the portal. So the risking of lighting his career on fire, when I talk about, I mean, he had already doused himself in the oil and the match is like right over there. The match is lit. And I mean, it's getting very close because I don't know how you think Dave. I don't think Lane wanted to lose Tyler Barron. Maybe the other two, but Tyler Barron's a good player. And so that's why I don't think he would not have run Tyler Barron off.
Alabama included. I don't think any program in the SEC would run Tyler Barron off. And I say Alabama included. Well, maybe Georgia. Okay. But I say Alabama included because they're losing so many people right now. But other than Georgia, what SEC program wouldn't take Tyler Barron? I mean, he's been a solid, not great, but solid player.
Exactly. And so that's the telling point to me that this isn't him going for better players from Alabama. I'm on the he overpromised, and now he's losing guys because of it. So because of that, yes, this is his last great job. And by the way, I'm not so sure that he won't get fired from Ole Miss Because this is something that unravels the program very quickly if you don't win. And I don't think they're going to win a lot in 2024 now. I don't think they're done losing players that they picked up.
Ouch.